Just a quick update about Excell Battery. Excell Battery has been around for over 35 years. We're an OEM battery supplier to multiple market segments, including smart battery systems. We began our birth, obviously, in the oil and gas industry, which is a very stringent application industry that remains our primary market segment, and we are a diversified company. We support many market segments across the world, including industrial computing, data capture, medical, test and measurement, and really anything with HAZLOC or ATEX, just to name a few. In terms of the medical industry, we support class 1 and class 2 and select class 3. Recently, we did get our ISO 13485 certification, which really ensures to you as medical OEMs that we are producing battery packs are of the highest quality designed for safety and reliability. Additionally, we are a North American manufacturer. We have 4 locations in North America, 3 of which are in Canada, and 1 of which is in Houston, Texas. So that's it for the update. I will now begin answering questions. So Mike, the first question, what is the battery trend you guys have been seeing within the medical applications? Lithium ion is really popular and most talked about. But what about silver zinc or nickel metal hydride for small to medium battery powered applications?
Yeah, you're right. Lithium ion is definitely the most popular and talked about, but nickel metal hydride is still quite viable, especially for both smaller devices or devices which need to be kind of shipped all over the place. Nickel metal hydride isn't considered dangerous goods, so they don't have anywhere near the regulatory red tape that you do with lithium ion. Silver zinc we generally see limited to much smaller devices.
So silver zinc, would it apply to wearables or maybe even hearing aid batteries, that type of application?
Yeah, exactly. Hearing aids are pretty popular, or you know, really small wearables or disposables as well.
Okay, thank you. The next question, how do we get these batteries certified and what type of certifications do they need?
That's a loaded question. It really depends on the device certifications. That said, most of them typically follow a lot of the IEC standards. So IEC 62133 is typical. UL 2054 is also fairly typical. We approach that by working with independent labs, and we facilitate that for our customers. So we'll handle all the documentation, the communication with the lab, and sample prep, that type of thing. And that's generally not a huge revenue generator for us. So it's just part of the process.
Okay, next question, how is flexible firmware an advantage?
So that goes mostly back to the ability to make design changes earlier in or later, I should say, in the manufacturing process. So like we talked about, things like being able to tweak your current limits or your voltage thresholds. You can also do a little more real-time communication between your device and the battery, that type of thing. So being able to change it after you've designed it means you don't have to respin the whole board if something changes in the device.
Okay, good. Please keep those questions coming in. With all of the supply chain challenges, is there a way to prevent some of the risk?
It's been tough lately. So the biggest de-risking strategies are specifying alternates. So just trying to get as many alternates up front that you can, so that when you can't get something later down the line, you have another option. Things like FETs, thermistors, fuses, etc. Specify 2-3 alternates if you can.
So I think the second part of that, Mike, is in terms of aftermarket and using some form of authentication or SHA-1 devices that we can put into the battery packs to eliminate risk at that level as well.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. We have started to hear from some of our customers that there are counterfeiters making batteries for their devices. So the TI fuel gauges support SHA-1 authentication. which you can use to have a key exchange between the battery and the medical device. And if the battery is counterfeit, it just won't work.
Right. And one thing I'd like to add is that one thing we've been doing with Excel, and I think everybody out there understands the market that we are currently operating in terms of shortages, with components, long lead times. One thing that we pride ourselves on is making sure that we position ourselves very well with our suppliers to ensure that we are keeping up with making sure that supply is there when the packs are needed. Okay, so next question. Are you finding challenges with getting cells and ICs at the moment? And how are you mitigating those sources of these components? I think you and I both just answered that, but if you want to add anything else, you certainly can, Mike.
Yeah, we are certainly seeing things getting a lot more difficult, even in the last 2 weeks. I'm sure you've all heard about, the challenges automakers and consumer electronic manufacturers are facing. We're seeing it as well. So far, we've been able to mitigate some of that just by, maintaining stock levels on things like cells and smart sourcing there. The IC thing, we're doing okay so far. We're working through brokers for stuff that has had lead times balloon to 40, 50 weeks. And alternates there again have saved us a few times. We're starting to hear that it's going to spread into other things. A recent one we've heard is a shortage of ethylene, which affects pretty much everything plastic.
So I guess that to answer the question again is really that we stay on top of it and we monitor the risk as it comes in to ensure that we're able to supply our customers with their needs and meeting their design and their mass production. So next question, who is your customer team or normally part of the development team, and how best do we work together?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. We generally approach design projects kind of as an extension of our customers' teams. So we'll start early on by specifying or helping refine these requirements early, and then we'll engage in a development cycle with our customers' teams. So on our sides, there would often be electronics, mechanical, software, firmware, test engineers, all part of this regular discussion. And we'd have some sort of weekly cadence where we would review progress and milestones, deliverables, share information, brainstorm, that type of thing.
Okay, the next question. What is the trend or availability towards higher temperature lithium ion cells and components used in BMSs?
That's a tough one. There's one vendor I can think of that is producing some excellent high temperature lithium ion cells, and that is Saft. They have some really interesting prismatics and that operate up to 85 degrees C. The BMS side is not so difficult. Most of the components are kind of specified to automotive temperature ranges. So, either 85 or 125 degrees C is not a big deal for the BMS.
Okay, the next question. What type of communication do you use between the battery pack gauge and the medical device?
SM bus is by far the most common, but there are others, especially once you start to build larger devices. So once the batteries get above, say, 24 volts or so, you'll start to see things like CAN bus or RS485, RS232, even sometimes Ethernet or SNMP. That we can really work with anything.
Excellent. Next question. What type of communication do you use between the battery? Oh, I think we just asked that one. So we got that one. Okay, so the final question, can you summarize the unique challenges of battery design for medical?
Summarize the unique challenges. Yeah, it's all about reliability. So fairly unique are the requirements for redundancy and quality control, specifically, documentation, process, that type of thing.
So it looks like we've got to most of the questions for this afternoon. I believe we've touched on all of them. If in fact you do have a question after we've concluded today's presentation, feel free to email me directly and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. We will have another webinar forthcoming in the next couple months, so please look for the topic, agenda topic, and the time and date. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.